Hey everyone, Pastor George here with today's Bible study recap. Today in Bible study, we looked at Psalm 34, which is a Thanksgiving psalm. And so that's the genre we're working on today. So Thanksgiving is for something, a psalm that is offered for something that God has done, right? Makes sense. That's kind of in the name, right? So something was going wrong, God has repaired it. And so the person who's writing it thanks God for it. And today, our writer is actually very much identified. This is David, and it's in response to something that happens in the book of First Samuel. So David he's going all over the place, and he gets into the court of a king. In First Samuel, he's called Achish, but here he's called Abimelech, which is kind of like a generic name for a king. And so he pretends to kind of be insane, and he's able to escape. And this is a psalm that he wrote in response to that. So it's actually kind of funny. 'Cause it's like a humorous story almost. And so David in this psalm, you'll notice that he associates basically like the ability to do this with what God has, like, he opened doors for him, allowed him to escape, that sort of thing. You could imagine the how unlikely this was to happen. And so David writes a psalm of thanksgiving in response to that. Probably the most famous line from this is the taste and see that the Lord is good. That's in verse 8. But and so it's kind of interesting in response to what the context is, because we usually hear that around communion and things like that. It's a good psalm. It's a good psalm for focusing on Thanksgiving, right? Because you'll notice that there's kind of two sections. There's a Thanksgiving part, and then there's a wisdom part. Wisdom is another kind of genre of the Psalms, and so you get a little bit of both. But there's this idea that fearing the Lord and Thanksgiving go hand in hand, which you usually don't think about, right? Usually you think, oh, fearing the Lord, not doesn't sound fun, whatever, right? But here, right, it's part of understanding, having reverence for everything that God has done for you. So there's this idea of having thanksgiving and also being reverent and fearing the Lord, seeing the good in life and in what God has done. Those who are eagle-eyed among you might notice that in John 19:20, there's a quotation of this psalm, right, where they're breaking the legs of the people who are crucified. That's what you would do to kill them quicker, but they don't have to do that to Jesus because he's already dead. So they don't break his legs. And John says, oh, look, just like this says in this psalm, right? So you see some Christological stuff going on here too. And so here it's just this idea that God is powerful, God cares for his people, he looks out for them, and it's in our recognition of this that we understand how great God is, right? And because we understand how great he is, what he's done for us, we are going to have an attitude of fear. So that's what we talked about today. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow for a new thing. Peace out.